that happen. You know, you see, Keselowski almost got wrecked when he tried to block Junior when Junior was trying to pass him. And it's weird to think of that. Those are the drivers that finished 1-2, and they almost wrecked right there. They do need to do something before people, get hurt more. I think it'll make it safer, and it's almost subtraction by addition. You always hear about NFL teams or other teams do this addition by subtraction.
Yep.
This is subtraction by addition. You want to take away some of the danger, well, you got to almost make it more dangerous. And trust me, these are the most talented drivers in the world, at least in my opinion. People might argue F1 or IndyCar, but they are, and they will handle it. They can handle it.
Yep, I agree with you. And, people that don't watch the sport regularly might not understand this, but I actually think safety-wise, maybe not racing-wise, but safety-wise, the 220, 225 would actually be safer than the 190 they're running now. And to some people that doesn't make sense, but it's basically everything you've said. It's going to make it more of a actual race and not a random. I mean, anybody.
Well, and to put it in layman's terms, 190 equals a huge pack. 225 or 220 equals everybody strong, placed apart. Not as exciting, but safer. They will not have the big wrecks. But yeah, please continue.
Well, no. And I just think I do think it's interesting though, because I actually think when I think big wreck, I actually think of a race several years ago. I mean, and by that I mean 4 or 5 years ago at Dover. Do you remember this? Where there was like a 17-car wreck?
I do.
I mean, the thing is,
that's the one that Mark Martin won.
Yeah, and the thing is that it can happen anywhere, but I understand the safety part of it and the speeds, because at Dover they're running 140, 150, not 190. But
well, even in that, it's more like it's more like a really odd wreck to watch happen. Guys tend to spin out, but they're going.
Are we talking about Dover?
Yeah, the Dover wreck you're talking about.
Yeah.
You didn't see somebody careen into the wall at 160 miles an hour head first. You guys saw a bunch of guys spin out and lightly tap each other, and maybe there's like a wad of like 6 cars sitting there on the apron, but it wasn't nearly as violent as the Talladega wreck.
I think the race at the end, the finish at the end with Edwards, it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate that it happened, and I'm really glad that the fans are okay. But and now it's causing so much. Now they're getting scrutiny, and they're talking about now they're going to spend the next months figuring out how to redesign the catch fences. But they're contradicting themselves a little bit,
and maybe that can help. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, and maybe that will help. But
it'll be the second time in 20 years they've done so. But.
Yeah, and people were making a big deal. That the fans got hurt. But then on the other side of the argument, and this is the one I would tend to agree with, is going into that race on Sunday, the catch fences were what they knew. They were as safe as they could be, and ultimately they did do their job. They kept the car out of the stands.
Yeah,
I mean,
no catch fence, that car goes into the stands.
And so it gave. It's almost like the soft walls. The catch fence gave you. I mean, did you see pictures of it afterwards?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the slow motion, you can see it like bending like all hell.
Yeah, and it gave, but you know what? It did its job, and as far as that goes, I would like to, they've made huge improvements over the last 10 years with everything. So I would like to see what they could do. Maybe someday they get to plexiglass walls like they have in hockey. I mean, maybe they get there. Who knows?
Well,
but
and here's my solution that I've always been kind of wondering about. Why do they build seats so low and close to the fence? Why don't you just not
back them up?
Well, if you're gonna build like 90 rows or 120 rows of seats, maybe the first 30 aren't actually seats. So then that's where the catch fence is, and a track as big as Talladega, there are so many areas around the outside of the track that there are not any seats, that they could build more. They can build more.
Make it up.
Yeah. And that's kind of funny. And when you think about it, it's kind of funny how it's like, well, why don't we just build them higher or farther away so they don't get hit
with debris? Yeah.
And that's a funny thing too, because and I should point out too, is that Talladega and Daytona are probably the only places this could happen. It was such a freak accident too, how it all transpired. If Newman doesn't hit him, he doesn't flip like that, or he flips away from the stands and all that. So, it's not even something you have to worry about for like an Atlanta or something like that. It's only Daytona and Talladega these things.
Yeah,
happen.
but you know as well as I do how NASCAR can be, and
NASCAR's stubborn. They're gonna make these plates work. They refuse to admit these plates don't work.
Let me ask you, this is an interesting thing to bring up, so let me ask you, I know what you want, do you see them ever removing them?
No, I don't think they'll ever do it. I think there have been way too many times in the past. If they were going to do it ever, it would have been after Earnhardt died. It would take something of that stature. Because, Edwards said after the race, we're going to keep doing this until they kill somebody. We did kill somebody, and they didn't change it. So
the other interesting point to think about with that is the reason they ever put the plates on was after that wreck in 88?
Yeah, 88 with Bobby Allison when he took up the fence.
Yeah, and they actually, ESPN showed them side by side and how not like identical they were, but how they were kind of similar, and how they're thinking that maybe it will lead to change. But like you said, it was a freak accident. It was every point falling right into place to make him flip that way.
And even more so, on Allison's accident, what did they not have then that they have now on the cars? It was an invention that didn't come until 1994.
Roof flaps.
Now, the roof flaps I know don't work up to a certain speed, but I understand, though, is that now a chance of a car flipping is less likely to happen. It takes very specific and certain circumstances for it to happen.
Yeah, because I'm trying to picture the accident in my head. When he got clipped in the left rear and was spinning, he just because of the speed in the air, his car was lifting, but it wasn't flipped. Correct?
No,
it was just lifting up off the ground.
Yeah, it was when he got hit by Newman that his car flipped up.
Yeah. And was he completely on the ground, or before Newman hit him, he was flying a little bit?
He had some lift, and that's why when Newman hit him, he took off.
Yeah, I would like to see. I can see both sides of the argument. I know a lot of times, and since we've done the show, I'm neutral with things, but I can see both sides. I love the racing. I thought it was a really good race. What was different for Talladega was the way Keselowski and Edwards got up there. I've never seen that before. I've never seen the two cars do that.
I have noticed since the COT at Talladega started getting run that two cars could do that. I remember this race last year, watching. Like Hamlin. And that's why I thought Hamlin was doing the same thing this year. He would get behind somebody, and he would just push him, and they would just fly by everybody, and they would jump out to like half-second lead on the rest of the pack or whatever. And actually, and we saw it a bunch of times actually during the race. At one point, Junior got behind Jeff Burton.
Oh yeah, they
was doing that.
And what's so funny is because we had seen that 4 or 5 times. You were saying. Doug, you were saying how
we should even set it up before on the last restart with 5 to go. Junior was in second behind Ryan Newman,
and they had said,
and Junior's plan basically was to lock onto Newman's bumper until basically the last lap, then they'd try to pass him, and by doing so, hopefully they would pull away from the pack and everything
and settle between the two of them.
Exactly. And then with like 3 to go, all of a sudden you notice that Keselowski was on Edwards' bumper, and they were doing the same thing, only they were going a lot faster.
Yeah, well, and at the time, maybe I didn't even take it that seriously because they were 7th or 8th in line. But then you had said for a good 2 minutes in real time, you had said, Junior,
when
go
they
high,
get
go high,
you,
go high.
Jump out and get in line in front of them, or make your pass now and then try to block them or whatever,
And he just they pretty much just sailed right by.
He seriously just sat there stubbornly, almost like I'm gonna make this work, you'll see, kind of thing. In fact, he wouldn't have even gotten second if Newman didn't hit Edwards. If Newman had been able to avoid him, he'd pass him. And actually, if Edwards slows down Keselowski any bit more, he actually does win because he was right on Keselowski's bumper.
He was closing.
Yeah,
he was just quite maybe like just to his bumper, maybe so another that much slowing him down, and Junior would have had him.
Yeah, well, and a little more. And maybe a little better decision on his part. Maybe if he had planned trying to pass Newman, get in front of Edwards and all that, who knows? The good thing to hear as a fan is that he at least realized he made a mistake after the race. He said so in his interview. But actually, that's the funny thing. After a race like the one on Sunday, most fans will sit there and be, happy and excited, or had that almost. I almost want to. I think. To myself, I've referred to it as like the afterglow of a race. I remember I had one from Jeff Burton winning at Texas in 2007 for like a week. I just felt so good. I felt everything was just happier because I felt so good about it. And normally I would, but I just, 4 hours after the race, all I could think was Junior gave one away. Junior gave one away. He could have won.